Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, melech haolam. All right, kapun piece here. There's a little prayer in Hebrew that says, to the name of the God in heaven, the Lord, Adonai. But in languages, many times the letters are interchanged, so you have the D and the T. In ancient times, Aton, the sun disk, the Lord. And Adonai, that's where it comes from. In other words, when you say Adonai, the Lord, you're referring to the sun, our star. This is Akhenaten wrote a hymn to the sun god, which was copied by all religions and the Abrahamic religions. You can see it in the Bible, in the Psalm 104, right there, the hymn to the God. And later on, in the province of Judea, all these traditions kept going. The so-called Semitic people, Abrahamic people, kept that tradition going, and it was found and they can be seen in the copper scroll of the Dead Sea Scrolls, which is nothing but an inventory of the treasure of, not of Solomon, but the treasure of the temple of Akhenaten in Tel Amarna.
So taking a melted down.
Ideas that reach back into Egypt and have startling implications for Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
Yeah, they all came from Egypt.
Metallurgist and engineer Robert Feather has raised eyebrows with his interpretation of the Copper Scroll, in the few Greek letters in the mostly Hebrew text.
In the Copper Scroll, there are 14 Greek letters interspersed in the Hebrew text. I took the first 10 letters and put them together, and eureka, they read Akhenaten.
Exactly.
The name of an Egyptian pharaoh who lived around 1350 BC.
They all came from Akhenaten.
And it was one of those revelationary moments.
The revolutionary pharaoh Akhenaten created what has controversially been called the first monotheistic religion in the world.
Well, not really
at a time when some scholars estimate the Israelites lived in Egypt.
Exactly, they were merchants. They were Hyksos,
We
merchants.
have to look at the Old Testament to see that major characters in the Old Testament lived or fled from Egypt.
Exactly.
They absorbed this belief in
Believing
one God.
in one God, the greatest revolution ever. It started about 1350 with the reign of the son of Amenophes III, a very powerful pharaoh, and his name was Amenophes IV, but he called himself Akhenaten, the beloved of the sun disk. He wanted to have only one God, the sun, being revered. He was down to earth in that sense, but he considered himself a part of a God, worshiping the Aten, and guess what he did? He wanted to build his own city, Akhenaten, which is now called Tel Amarna, and he built temples to the sun there and everything. And the priests were pissed off because the thieves and all this. He eliminated them. He said, no more gods. They're destroying all the different gods and the deities and everything else, and the priests didn't have no money. Because every temple is a treasure house. It's like Fort Knox. Every country, they all have the treasures in their temples. All of them in the ancient world, including Rome. Every temple was a treasure house. So, of course, he didn't succeed because after 30 years of the city, he probably was murdered. His name, everything was defaced and all that later on. And then his son was Tutankhamun. He used to be called Tutankhaten, but then he changed to Tutankhamun, restored the religion, and there we go. But the cult of the sun god went underground. And later on, it was all the ground, and thus where the Hyksos and the merchants adopted this. And during the time of Ramses II, which he was, believing all these gods and everything else, but the cult of the only one God was down. And they think, and it's a lot of evidence that suggests that Moses was actually one of his sons. He had like about 100 sons. And there's a The whole thing started with, and everything changed completely with time. That's what the worship of the sun, which took many names. Yahweh, and every leader considered themselves son of the sun. Even Julius Caesar, Christ, son of Venus, also the sun. Apollo, and all that. Everything, one.
Exactly.
Everything,
They
one.
absorbed this belief in one God.
They were merchants.
Evidence in the Copper Scroll itself, it's pretty self-evident. The clues about Egypt are there for
The evidence is
anyone
right there.
who wants to look at them.
Don't forget,
Right there.
God gave Moses the commandments with his finger of fire, and then Moses saw a bush that didn't consume, but burned that didn't consume, and then the sea, the Red Sea was parted by fire of God. Everything is fire. It's the sun.
Out of Egypt, the Egyptians could easily have brought the idea to them.
Well, they were part of the whole
It was
thing.
a dominant world power for thousands of years,
Yeah.
leading to the 1st century BC.
And
Many of the scrolls were written.
And the so-called Jews
In the
were
18th
merchants.
dynasty of Egyptian pharaohs,
Of monotheism,
around about 1350 BC, Egypt is the most dominant force
Yep.
in the whole of the Middle East.
Just like Rome would
It
be
controls
1,000 years
the
later.
Holy Land, what is now Lebanon, right the way up to Assyria. It is the power and the most wealthy civilization in the world.
Yep.
It was going to be an Egyptian pharaoh.
Yep.
if Feather is right, the Copper Scroll's significance is far beyond that of a mere treasure. Time that the Israelites did remember and revere Akhenaten, who
Exactly.
he argues is the first monotheist.
The son of
Judaism, Christianity, and Islam
Yeah.
owe their most central belief to the land of the pharaohs.
Exactly.
And over 1,000 years later, the Jews, the merchants, will be worshiping and adoring the son of David, Julius Caesar Christ. The first people that went to his funeral were the Jews. To his
Legend.
funeral were the
Possibly even an ancient hoax.
Yeah, just like Christianity and Noah's Ark and all that
Most
and Noah's
people
Ark and
believe
all
the
that Christian
Christians
believe they are real.
Not one of the treasures, there are some 64 mentioned in the scroll, not one of them has ever been located. My particular
they never
located,
will. They were
but they're
melted down.
never
Come on,
existed
these
in the
people are
first place,
stupid.
or they were found very long
You
ago.
idiot.
But even if the
Or
Copper
melted down
Scroll
like
does
everything else.
not lead to
That's what
treasure
happened with
or
people
to
infected with Christ-psychosis. They're blind. Biblical archaeology, they are totally retarded. They don't see the facts right there in front of them. They believe in this hocus pocus nonsense. There is no proof there is a Jesus or Moses or any of those guys, but there is a proof that was an Akhenaten. They have his body. The evidence that Son of God, Akhenaten, the creator of all this, believing one God, existed is DNA and science.
I don't know that.
A cleft palate,
Science.
a
Lucy Jeans.
varicocephalic skull. These are traits that can get passed down from father to son.
Yes. Genetics. DNA.
From a father
Mutation.
like Akhenaten to a son like Tut.
Yeah.
As the team identified the missing pharaoh Akhenaten,
Amazing.
a new analysis of the KV-55 sarcophagus offers surprising support for this theory.
It's one important conclusion that everyone has to know, that the mummy that everyone thought it's for Nefertiti, it is not for Nefertiti, because we gave the proof of that. But the other important fact, that we succeeded to collect a group of people, that all these people belong to the family of Amarna, and this is very important conclusion.
Since Akhenaten, whose religion, one God, the Son, went underground, had every leader, every king considered themselves divine and from God, Sun God. And so was Alexander the Great, Sun God. Then creating the Greek mythology and all that, but Sun God. And then, of course, in the empire established by the Holy Father in heaven, Julius Caesar the Christus, son of Venus. And then he was also considered the sun god, identified with Jupiter and with many other gods, and with Jehovah also in the temple in Jerusalem. It was a Roman temple. And then from then on, then in the 4th century, Constantine created Christianity from the cult of Caesar, and he was successful in creating only one religion accepted, Christianity, which is nothing but the sun. So you're worshiping the sun, Pace de Oro.